Hey, this is day one of my 30-day challenge. So, a couple things. I am in my new house here in Chiang Mai, and I am dating someone who I want to help him with his social media and marketing, and we go back and forth because he's super introverted, and the question is it helpful to society to be promoting things on social media which makes people be on their phones more and not engage in real life? And I think the answer is yes. I think you can be helping people by encouraging them to do things. There's an airplane. Don't mind me, there's an airplane. I think you can. I think you can definitely help people if you do it in the right way. And that's what I intend to do with this challenge. Also, for me, I have so much stuff I want to share about, but the hardest part for me is like planning it out and putting it online and like doing the blurb when I put it on YouTube. So this is going to try and help me with that as well. So every day I'll be talking about something different. A lot of it is going to be related to working remotely and living in a foreign country. I live in Chiang Mai, Thailand normally, but I've been to over 50 countries, and this year alone I've traveled to 12 countries so far. I've been traveling a lot, and it's a lot. Another major thing I've been listening to lately is stuff on a movement called FIRE. Have you guys heard of this? It's called Financial Independence Early Retirement, and it's really exciting for me. It's basically like, how do you get 30 years of your income and pile that into in funds, investment funds, or invest it in whatever you want, but 30 years of your income before you hit 35, and be able to live off of the dividends that come from your investments, and retire early. So for me, what I found super interesting is, without really knowing that I forgot I had makeup on. I don't really wear makeup that much anymore. Anyways, without realizing that this movement existed, it's called FIRE, Financial Independence Early Retirement, I've already been doing it. I've positioned my life in a way where I basically am retired, which is super interesting. Like, I've been basing here in Thailand for almost 3 years. I've paid off all of my debt, which is, as an American, I just need to point out how hard that is, because it's like built into us culturally to like have lots of debt and put everything on our credit card and buy a house when we're like 20 years old. I don't know, it's just like our consumer economy is like buy. I know that's how it is in other countries, but I think especially in the US. So for me to get out of that and to build my life around that feels really exciting. So I have no debt. My living expenses are very low, and like our house that we live in right now, it's 18,000 baht, which is Thai money, a month, which is about $600. We split that between 3 people. It's a 5-bedroom house with this big yard. It's like, sometimes we forget we can't tell if someone's in the house because it's so big that we all have our own sections of the house. So $600 divided by 3, that's like $200 a month each of us spend to have this mansion in the center of town. And you know, food here costs like $1, $2. If you want to get fancy, have some Western food, maybe $5 max. So our living expenses are super, super low. And so you really don't need to make that much money. And then when you do make money, there's not much to spend it on. I mean, like, unless you want to go crazy and like have a couple extra massages a month, but even massages are like $5. So it's easy to save your money when you're in this lifestyle here. And also, you know, in Thai, they call it sabai sabai. It just means like really like a lifestyle that's very chill and quiet and peaceful. And that's how I feel living here in Thailand. And so it makes it so you're not in that consumer mindset where you actually need to buy more to like make yourself feel better. Like when I worked in corporate law and lived in New York City and commuted an hour and a half each way, I was very stressed out. And I think that made it so I wanted to buy things almost to reward myself for being so stressed out, or to like comfort myself, or be like, you know, at least it's worth it for me to be doing this. And yeah, I don't have to do that anymore. I'll give you one story. I was stretching as I do this. This is like when I was in corporate law, we called stand-ups. And so this is why I'm standing up, because I think that you are we joke when I teach workshops that you're like 90% smarter when you stand up. Anyways, diverging from my point. So when I was working for a law firm in New York, I was so stressed out that I got shingles. So if you don't know what that means, it's like the same, what is it? It's the same virus. Anyway, it's like it's a virus that you get, and it's like only old people get it, or people who have cancer. It's like something where your body turns on you and you can get nerve damage, and it causes this big rash on one side of your body. And what happens is if you leave it and you don't do anything about it, like if you don't get medication, they've come up with a medication for it, even though it's a virus. If you don't get medication and treat it, and it crosses over to the other side of your lymph nodes, then you can actually die. So it's like super, super one, it's super painful. Two, it actually is life-threatening if you don't treat it. And I remember I worked for Mount Sinai in the legal department, which is like the biggest hospital in New York. And I remember going into like our clinic at my lunch, and I didn't have time to like take a day off. I just went in and saw a doctor on my lunch, and she was like, yep, this is shingles. And, I've never seen anyone have it this bad that's like your age. At the time I was like 25. And she was like, you need to change something about your life. Like something in your life is very stressful. And so she gave me the medication for it, and the pain was so bad that she gave me like morphine. Like I actually had to take morphine because I've had other medical problems. This is the worst pain I've ever been in. And I went back to work. Like I went and showed my manager, and I was like, I actually showed her the virus. I was like, I have shingles. And she was like, yeah, but you need to get this thing done. And like, you've already taken a lot of time off work, or blah, 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 this and that. And I just was like, what? Like we work at a hospital, like we can't take care of ourselves. And I just remember being like, oh yeah, that's normal. Like in my head, it didn't even feel like that big of a deal. So I worked from home and just kept doing everything, like laying in bed. And then I already had scheduled my one vacation for the whole year, which was going to Greece. And I was like, I'm not missing Greece. I already paid for everything. I'm going to get on that plane. And I still was like taking morphine while I got on the plane. And when I got to Greece, we were in Athens, we went to Santorini. And like 2 days into my trip, I didn't have to take pain medication anymore. And that's when I realized how much of it was emotional. It was in my brain. Like I was so stressed out that my brain was like, my body was shouting, because that's what they say is like your emotions and your physical body are way more interlocked than we realize. So I stopped. I hate taking painkillers anyway, so I stopped taking them. And when I got back to work, so that was in March, and I ended up getting on the plane. I remember July 4th, because like the fireworks were going off when I was leaving, getting on the plane July 4th and literally never going back. So July 4th of 2015, I think. So like 4 years ago, over 4 years ago, and I've been traveling full time ever since, and then using Chiang Mai as my base while I travel. So my point is that please listen to your body, and please also, I think FIRE, the whole movement thing is really cool. I don't know. So I'm going to be doing these stand-ups every day for 30 days. I'll number them, put them on my YouTube without much description, and share them on my social media, and let me know what you guys think. I also realize I have a lot of subscribers, followers, whatever, and I would love to get to know you guys more. So I have a friend who has a really cool YouTube. I'm going to plug her. Her name's Boom Shika. She has like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and like that's like that's her world that she's built with all of these people, and she's like talks about them like they're her friends. Like she's always like, yeah, my followers, they asked me, to film outside because it's snowing in Canada, where a lot of her viewers are, or in the US, and it makes them happy that, it's like 90 degrees here and I never have to worry about it snowing or being cold. And she talks about like she really, like they all interact with her and they talk to her, and I would also love that. So let me know what you want to talk about. Let me know how you feel. One more thing I'll end with today is I talked to my mom for the first time yesterday in 4 years. So that was a major thing that happened for me. I grew up in a religion called Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was in it until I was about 24. And my entire family are still witnesses. Like my great grandmother, until the day she died at 102, was a Jehovah's Witness. And so my family doesn't really understand why I'm not one anymore. I'm still baptized, but I'm not practicing. I'm not active in it. And their way of dealing with that situation is to not speak to me. So my sisters won't talk to me. My mom hasn't spoken to me in 4 years. And you know, I woke up yesterday morning, I had a dream about my mom, and I really missed her. And usually I would like cry or like just feel really down for that day and kind of feel into it, which I think is also okay. But I've been reading this book called Women Who Run with Wolves. If you've never read it and you're a woman, you need to read it. I've had like 5 or 6 women in my life tell me I need to read it, and now I'm reading. I'm like, how have I never read this book before? So Women Who Run with Wolves, really good book. But in the book, the whole theme is like kind of like finding your inner voice and speaking up for it. And so yesterday, instead of, I still felt into everything I was feeling, but then I chose to act on it. And there's a fucking airplane. Hold on. Just gonna do some movements because there's an airplane. I'm gonna listen back and see if you can still hear me with the airplanes going. But I'm not editing this out because I don't care. So instead of just being silent yesterday in my sadness, I went for my run like I normally do. I did some meditation, some journaling, and then I was like, I'm gonna call my mom. Like, why don't I speak up and call her? Why am I waiting for her to call me? So I did. So I called her. Her number didn't work anymore. She got a new number, and I called my grandma, her mom. I spoke to my grandma for like a half an hour, and also, you know, she's also Jehovah's Witness, so I just assumed like my family doesn't want to talk to me because that's how it's been in the past. And my grandma was like, no, I want to talk to you. I missed you. When are you coming to visit? I think they've changed. I think they've grown or healed or become softer. So I think if I'm back in the States, I haven't been back to the States in almost 3 years. So if I go back there next summer, then I'll definitely go visit my family in Oregon. So anyways, I got my mom's number and I called her and she called me back and we had this amazing conversation. Like I haven't spoken to her in 4 years. We talked for like an hour and she like went to Uganda for 8 months last year. Like my mom, who's never left the country except for going to like a 4 all-inclusive hotel in Mexico. Like that's how I think of my mom, is like standard American housewife. Hasn't really left the country for real because I went with her to the all-inclusive resort in Cancun, and I don't consider that traveling to a foreign country. But she like on her own decided to go to Uganda, ended up staying for 8 months. Like she did do it for the preaching work within our religion, but I remember growing up as a kid, like always wanting to travel and just kind of not using, but like being like, oh, I can use this as an opportunity. Going out in the ministry or preaching, I can use that as an opportunity to go travel. And I think that's kind of what my mom has done, is like used it as an opportunity to go out and see the world. And it makes me realize I never really thought my mom and I were that much alike. I've always not looked down on her, but just thought we were so different because growing up, she was really passive and kind of submissive to my dad. He was super controlling, overbearing, and like not a great person. And she never really stood up against him or for whatever she wanted, and I really feel like maybe my mom and I are more alike than I realized. So the moral of the story of all of that is speak up, and you get to decide how your story ends, and you get to decide how it all goes. So I invited my mom out here. I hope she comes. Like none of my family have come to visit me, and I've lived abroad for 4 years, and that makes me really sad. Like whenever I see my friends' parents come to visit, I'm always really happy for them. But it makes me sad on the inside. I don't say it, because that's a weird thing to say. But I was like, I'm going to manifest my mom coming to visit and staying with me and like showing her around and putting her on the back of my scooter and like just like having adventures, taking her to like the elephant camps and like the sanctuaries and stuff and showing her all the rescued elephants. I think she would love that, and I would love to show her that, and that would make me I would cry from happiness for that. So please send me positive thoughts if that happens. Yeah. Okay, this is my daily stand-up. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Get out there and do something that scares you today. I'm going to do that, which is, for me today, is looking at my emails that I don't want to look at. Okay, talk to you later. This is Brittnee Bond, reporting live, episode 1 of the daily stand-up. Okay, bye.